Callum Johnson knocks out Frank Buglioni in the first round. Did this fight even last a minute? Johnson picks up the British light heavyweight title and adds it to his Commonwealth light heavyweight title, which he already held. I hadn't seen much of Callum Johnson prior to this fight, hence why I didn't do a prediction. But there's a channel who I've held in very, very high regard for many, many years here on YouTube, who doesn't really make videos anymore. But after several years without making a video, he made a prediction for this fight. And he was adamant that this fight was a mismatch. This is what he said in his prediction. He said it was a mismatch and that Callum Johnson was going to win the fight easily, early, most likely early. And the guy is called Paddy Boxing. He's a veteran YouTube boxing channel. I always held him in the highest regard because he had an incredible record for accurately predicting fights. Not only predicting the winner, but how the fight would go, etc., etc. And he got it absolutely bang on with this Callum Johnson Frank Buglioni fight. He was adamant that this was a mismatch and Callum Johnson was going to win easily. He couldn't see any way in which Buglioni could win. Absolutely spot on. Buglioni tried to trade with Callum Johnson early on, and he did catch Callum Johnson, but Johnson had the sturdier chin, the more explosive punches, and Buglioni was in all sorts of trouble when they started exchanging. Johnson opened up on him, and, you know, it didn't last long. So at this point, Frank Buglioni must be wishing that he would have taken that, whatever it was, 100 grand or 120 grand to face Anthony Yarde, because better he gets knocked out for 120 grand than whatever he got against Callum Johnson, because I'm sure it won 120 grand. So there you have it. Frank Buglioni knocked out in the first round. Where does he go from here? I don't think it looks good for him, to be honest with you. But Callum Johnson is an interesting fighter now. I did watch one or two of his fights prior to seeing this matchup tonight. I was quite impressed by one of his early fights. I think he knocked a guy out in a couple of rounds and he looked very fast and explosive. For those of you who haven't seen Callum Johnson fight, stylistically, he is maybe a little similar to a George Groves. Stylistically, he fights with his left hand down. He has quite a wide stance. But whereby Groves' best punch is the straight right hand, Callum Johnson's best shot is a left hook. Yeah, he don't really have much of a right hand. It's his left hook that does all the damage, and he'll go up top and to the body with the left hook. He's fast, he's explosive, and as you can see here, he can punch. So, good performance by Callum Johnson. He is the British and Commonwealth light heavyweight champion. Let's see if Anthony Yarde wants to fight Callum Johnson, because he wanted to fight Frank Buglioni. Let's see if he's so keen to fight Callum Johnson. Maybe he will be, and I think that would be a great fight if they can get that on. Jose Burton, I'm sure, will be wanting to fight Callum Johnson. I'm not sure, but I think Jose Burton might have predicted that Callum Johnson was going to win this fight. I have been watching a few Jose Burton interviews lately, and I'm sure he, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he predicted that Callum Johnson was going to win this, or it might have been somebody else. Certainly Paddy Boxing predicted it, so always shout out to Paddy, man. I've held him in the highest regard when it comes to boxing brains on YouTube, man. Paddy always has known his stuff. And this was a typical example. This is why Paddy's always been one of my favorite channels for so many years, because of predictions like this. This is the kind of thing that he was doing time in and time out, Paddy Boxing. So shout out to him. I know he's a low-key character. He probably don't want me to shout him out. But big up Paddy anyway. So yeah, let me know what you guys felt about Callum Johnson's performance here. Who would you like to see him in with next? And where does Frank Buglioni go from here? How many of you guys were shocked? See, I wasn't really sure what to expect, to be honest with you, because I didn't know how good Callum Johnson was. I'd seen a couple of his fights, one fight which ended early, and I was really impressed. Even though he was only against the journeyman, I was just impressed with his speed and explosiveness. His last fight, he fought some African guy. I thought he looked flat in that fight. I wasn't particularly impressed. So, you know, I hadn't seen Johnson in there with anybody of any note. So I didn't know what to expect against Buglioni. I've never really rated Buglioni very highly. But I had to, you know, I didn't make a prediction. I wasn't really sure how the fight would go. So I wasn't surprised by the fact that Buglioni got bombed out early, because I didn't really know what to expect. And also because Paddy obviously knew a lot more about Callum Johnson than I do. And when he made a prediction like that with such conviction, I had to sit up and take note of what he was saying, because the guy knows his stuff. So yeah, let me know how you guys felt about it in the comment section below. It's Hatman, I'm out.